Well, after the Super Sunday, we are here on a Monday to take care of your Monday blues. We will be talking about what we saw yesterday, and no, not about the game in New York. We're here to talk about how Scotland managed to thump Oman with a convincing 7-wicket victory, of course. Let's just make sure the panel's in order. All right, there we go. Everything's set. Jeet bhai, Pramod bhai, kya haal hai? And hopefully all's well in terms of the results at least. Jeet, you
Both
go
results
first.
here.
Okay.
Both results. It's what we wanted. And the bigger thing, of course, being that Scotland winning it by a significant margin to ensure that not only do they get 2 points, but also a massive NRR boost so that they can put England on the brink of, getting knocked out. So a good result altogether.
100%. So have those odds changed? Pramod bhai, let's start with you in terms of yesterday before the Scotland-Oman game. We spoke about kya lagta hai, kya hai. Like England still seemed, slight favourites to make it through to the Super 8s. After yesterday's result, the margin, the net run rate, taking all of that into account, do you think Scotland have definitely, done no harm to their chances now?
Yeah, I think they've definitely are in the driver's seat as far as qualification is concerned. But the good thing for England is they now know exactly what they have to do in their remaining games. Win and win big. For Scotland, I think they've done all they can. Hopefully, they can either get something out of the Australian game in terms of a win would be a bonus, but not lose by a massive margin is what they'll be hoping for if they sort of fall short. But yeah, it's an uphill task for England to go through here. But as I said, they have Namibia and Oman. Oman have been probably one of the worst teams in the tournament. I know I had little higher hopes from them when they started off, but now with the way they played yesterday and the other two games, I think it won't be surprised if they finish bottom of the group. So yeah, good chance for Scotland. 5 points out of 6, although it should have been 6 out of 6, given how they went against England in the first game. But yeah, I think they'll take the position they are in right now.
All right, let's see, Jeet bhai. What about you in terms of Scotland? The way they've sort of, secure those 2 points yesterday. It's not just the points, the massive NRR boost that they were also able to, get hold of. England definitely will be rowing, a couple of those missed opportunities against Australia, and of course the rain mud game against Scotland.
Well, it could potentially have been sealed if the first game gone through because you still don't know what result you would have got. I know England needed 106 of 10 overs, but that's never easy. It's easy to say that, okay, England have the firepower to chase it down, but Scotland have the wicket-taking bowlers as well, so that would have made it an even match altogether. So it's quite hard to tell. But yeah, of course, now the pressure is on England to deliver, to register big wins against Oman and Namibia. And eventually it comes down to Scotland versus Australia, which will be the last game where if Scotland can win that game against all odds, then great. If they can't, then they just need to ensure that they don't lose by a significant margin. And that should be enough for them to go through because right now the NRR difference between the two sides is massive. Now, I can understand, of course, England have got games against Namibia and Oman, but it's still very, very big. So if Namibia and Oman also can put up a fight against England, then it's not going to be an easy road for England altogether. And Scotland will be really happy with where they are right now.
That's for sure. Scotland will definitely be happy with where they are right now. Anyway, it is time for us to move on to the first segment. It is called About Last Night. We are going to be reviewing only one game. Been a while since we were able to do just that. Of course, we're talking about Oman, Scotland. That happened at 10:30 p.m. IST. Let's have the sting out first before we talk about the game and a lot more about it. Well, it's nice and chilly here in Bangalore. It feels even more good because of how Scotland managed to win against Oman. Where is the scorecard? Yep, there we go. Let's have the match summary out first. Yep, there you go. Oman won the toss and opted to bat first against Scotland. Of course, given the conditions and all of that, you could not sort of put that against them. Pratik Katavle coming up with a fantastic knock. He came back, or rather, he played his first game in the last fixture against Australia. Could not really do much of damage there. Started off well here, 54 to 40. A couple of those boundaries really caught my eye. impressed with what I saw of him. Then Ayan Khan, of course, both of them stitched together a very important partnership, especially because they were about 5 down for 70 odd, almost staring down the barrel. Both the batters there ensured that Oman got to a respectable 150 for 7. Sufyan Sharif, the pick of the bowlers, taking 2 wickets. Chris Greaves, Brad Beal, even Mark Watt getting a wicket apiece amongst themselves as well. Not to forget, there was also a run out. And Scotland, in response, started off strongly, continued strongly, finished strongly. That's pretty much the summary of their innings. Michael Jones, to begin with, scored 3 boundaries and 10 dot balls in a 16-run knock. There were no singles, no doubles. He was like, I'm not having any of it. I'm just going to attack straight down the ground. I'm going to have a straight bat. That's it. And that's what he tried. Sort of came good, not sure what to make of it. George Munsey, 41 of 20. Again, a fantastic, solid start given to Scotland. And then Brandon McMullen continued that, for the Scottish batting side, especially with the ball in hand. Bilal Khan started off strongly for them, got Michael Jones' wicket early on, but there was very little else for Oman's bowlers to look at. Let's start with you, Pramod bhai. Oman batted first, of course. We'll get to Brandon McMullen and all of that later. Opening combination has clearly been an Achilles heel for them. They've had 3 different opening pairs in the 3 games. They started off with Kashyap and Khushi in the first game. They replaced Khushi with Prateek, and Prateek and Kashyap opened in the second game. They're like, you know what, Kashyap's not working now. So now they've gone to Prateek and Khushi. I'm not sure, bhai, chal kya raha hai? What is this, merry-go-round that they're playing with there?
So the good thing for Oman heading into the tournament is that they finally decided to let go of Jatinder Singh. He's not been a very consistent performer for the last 1 or 2 years. So they got in Kashyap Prajapati, they got in Athawale, they tried Naseem Khushi as well. So I think these 3 are the ones who are going to take Oman forward in the years to come. I think Prateek Athawale and Kashyap Prajapati probably will be the ones who will feature regularly. With I think Naseem Khushi more suited, I feel, down the middle order probably as a finisher. So that is one positive, probably the only positive probably Oman have had going into the tournament. But yeah, once again a good innings from Athawale yesterday. We know I think he just made his debut last year, and since then he's slowly grown and has become an important member of this Oman side. Other than that, there were some decent batting performances down the order as well. As you said, they were like 70 for 5. 70 for 4, and they needed somebody to take them to say about 150, 160 from there, which they did achieve. But Scotland came in with a completely different mindset. They made their intentions very clear right from ball 1 with Michael Jones and George Munsey. In fact, I was watching the India game and this game, so I was seeing Rishabh Pant struggling with those reverse hits and George Munsey absolutely connecting them out of the middle of the bat and smashing them for 4s and 6s. So that was wonderful to see. But again, Oman were very poor in the field. I think they dropped McMullen twice or thrice. I think they did in that innings. Had they held on to one, maybe they could have probably pushed a little bit closer, not much. Maybe instead of finishing in 13 overs, Scotland would have finished it in 16. But that was really sloppy from Oman's part. They were all over the place in the field. Looks like they saved their best on the field just for Australia. And I think rest of the match, rest of the teams, it's been pretty mediocre so far, and that was on full display yesterday.
100%. If that effort against Australia was their best, I don't want to see their worst right now. But Jeet, will of course come to George Munsey. One thing that really struck me with his reverse sweeps was the way in which he was able to access the region behind square. Usually reverse sweeps, you see them target the square region, sometimes even front of square. Behind square is not easy because you need to bend your back that much more to sort of get that angle right. Him being able to connect it twice in the same over and get both the balls to go beyond the boundary for a 6 was fantastic. But before that, again, same question to you. Oman, their openers, Prateek Athawale gave a good account of himself. Solid knock from him. Sure, strike rate wise, maybe he could have done better, but a couple of those shots clearly showed that bhai potential hai wahan pe. Lots to work with for sure. But what's happening over there? Why so many changes? Do you think they could have stuck one way or the other, like Prateek and Kashyap potentially, or do you think Naseem Khushi was a right partner for Prateek?
This is something that's very often with all these associates. They chop and change a lot. As soon as somebody fails for 1 or 2 games in a big tournament, they don't hesitate to change things very, very quickly. But to be fair, even Pakistan have been changing their top order in the last 3 bilateral series. So even a top nation is doing that. So Oman doing that doesn't surprise me altogether. Coming to Naseem Kushi, I really like the intent he has got. He's got more intent at the age of 41 than most of the top players. So fantastic altogether. But it's just that he's too funky for my liking at the very beginning. He plays those lap shots and all those funky shots. He brings them out straight away. I've actually seen him do that against David Visa recently. Right on the first ball that he faced of the match, he played that scoop. So it's something that he keeps doing. So I'm kind of tilted towards thinking that, if you want to play that kind of cricket, if you want to execute those kind of shots, then you're probably better off doing it down the order with 2 or 3 overs to go. Because you don't want to play such a high risk cricket either if you're an opener and play at least these kind of shots. If you want to be aggressive and play the orthodox shots, I'm all good. But playing those funky shots right from the get-go, it doesn't make sense. It would probably be more suited to down the order. So I'd be more than happy to see Oman go back to Kashyap Prajapati and, of course, stick with Pratik Athavale as an opener. So that's a pair that might come good in the longer run. Naseem Kushi can probably slot down the order. I don't know what's really going to happen after this tournament with, of course, Naseem also being 41 years old. If they would look to probably, back youth over him in the future, then I won't be surprised. But right now, it seems Pratik and Kashyap would be a good pair for them to go about things.
Meanwhile, another change that Oman had made was, of course, to sort of drop Shoaib Khan. They brought in Rafiullah, as Jeet had mentioned, ki bhai chahiye wo. So they basically they brought in Shoaib Khan in the last game to sort of lengthen their batting order. Just after one game, they were like, okay, boss, this isn't working for them. I'm guessing Shoaib, if I'm not wrong, got out for a duck in the last game. But again, Jeet, in terms of the kind of options they have, we've spoken about, they have Zishan Maqsood. They also have Ayan Khan, who can roll his arm over, left arm over, sort of, to put it specifically. Despite that, they stuck to Shakeel. And we spoke about this change probably is needed. And again, I know he brings in a different dimension. It's not that he and Zishan are the same. Zishan is a lot more conventional, loops the ball up, slows it down. Shakeel is a lot more quicker through the air. He's flatter, but even then a bit unnecessary, right? They could have probably gone to an additional pacer like we spoke about, or probably even stuck to both Shoaib and Rafiullah, because Rafiullah can also roll his arm over.
That's exactly what I observed. You've already got 2 left-arm spinners if you want to go to them. If you want to exercise that option, you've got it. But like you mentioned, Shakeel is a different variety of left-arm spin altogether, being a lot more quicker through the air and having the ability to bowl the power play, which Zishan or Ayan do not have. But at the end of the day, it was not really working out. And whilst they replaced Shoaib Khan with Rafiullah, who had bagged a duck, well, Rafiullah also bagged a duck, so it didn't really make a change for them. Rafiullah, the good thing is he's a proper 6-hitter. So whilst his average and all those things won't look good, if you look at the ratio of 4s and 6s, it gives you a good idea of what his role is. And that's exactly how he got dismissed as well. He tried for a big shot and he just got long off. And he can, of course, contribute with right arm pace as well. So even I would now rather prefer having Fayyaz Butt over Shakeel Ahmed, unless if there is something we don't know, if there is an injury concern, then I'm not aware of that. But I think they should be going to Fayyaz Butt and just sticking to Shakeel and Ayan. Maybe even after the power play, that's fine. That's not a big deal. You've got the bowlers to bowl the power play, so that's fine. You can handle that. Because Shakeel, at the end of the day, is not really getting the job done either. So probably look ahead and start backing Fayyaz. And that trio might probably come good of Kalimullah, Fayyaz and Bilal.
Pramod, you agree with it, or do you think there was merit in having that additional, left-arm spinner in the 11?
No, not at all. Look, Oman's strength is their fast bowling. If you don't sort of back your fast bowlers, who have won your matches, so many matches over the years, in such a big tournament, I think your planning or your judgment is not correct. Bilal Khan, of course, you can't afford to drop Bilal Khan from this side, but you need someone like Fayyaz, but who's been partnering him for years now in the side, along with probably you have a good support in Mehran Khan as well, who's proved to be a good fast bowler and a decent hitter down the ground. So there is merit in having Fayyaz Butt in the 11. There's no doubt about it, and that is something I think Oman will have to on the hindsight when they're introspecting after the tournament is over. I'm sure that is one area. I mean, they may still have lost all those matches, But having Fayyaz, but gives them definitely gives them a better chance for sure.
I mean, I
And
for
one
one.
more point. One more point. So you are already playing in Scotland, and you are of course you're backing Shakeel Ahmed to get the job done on the power play. Now, not to forget that he is bowling to the likes of Michael Jones and George Munsey. George Munsey, of course, is really good against spin, especially left arm spin. But even Michael Jones, that's exactly what I had mentioned back in the preview as well. He's one of the best players of spin that I've seen in English county cricket. And he's taken down some of the best spinners in England, like Callum Parkins and all these guys, in the power play by bashing them down the ground with excellent shots. So if you have done your research, then you probably know that it's probably not the best way to go about it in the power play to Michael Jones. Don't ball spin. It doesn't matter how quick you are through the air. He's still probably going to come at you and he's going to bash you down the ground because he's technically very sound, and that's exactly what he did. So it didn't really work out. So even that is something that they could have probably looked at. And also coming to that George Munsey thing, Akshay, you're talking about how he was accessing behind square with the switch hits. To be fair, against Adil Rashid, if you observe that, it was in front of square, that switch hit. So that's the benefit and that's the advantage you get with George Munsey. He's excellent with his switch hits and he can access a wide range. That's when the teams that plan well often start with spinners against him, but they do ensure that they have a deep backward point. And when that happens, he has started observing that, okay, maybe there is the plan, maybe the opposition knows that, okay, I like to switch hits, so they have a fielder placed over there. So he doesn't go for that shot initially. It's only after the power play he started going to that shot when the field is spread out and he backs himself to clear it. So after the power play, Akib, I think it was Akib, right, against whom he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had a deep backward point that was placed over there, yet he managed to clear them. So that shows the confidence he has in executing those shots, and he rarely errs in doing that.
Yep, it also helped that in that from that particular end, wind was also flowing in the right direction. Again, smart usage of how to leverage the conditions on offer. And again, completely agree with you in terms of the reverse sweeps, the way he deploys it. There aren't too many batters who show or exercise such control because it's not easy to be able to reverse sweep a ball front of square, behind square, on demand, on command. It's not as easy as he's made it seem. So kudos to him, and yeah, fingers crossed we'll get to see a lot more of him against other teams as well in the second round. Fingers crossed, of course, goes without saying. We'll just take this comment from Prayash. He says, along with USA and Scotland, if Netherlands or Nepal make it to the Super 8s, then Bangladesh will have to play the Asia Regional Qualifiers for the 26 World Cup against Nepal, UAE, Oman, Hong Kong, etc. for the 2 spots on offer. I'm not sure what the exact sort of road to this.
I don't think so because I think Bangladesh might get in through their rankings if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, top 10 or something like that. Then if they make it through to the top 10, there's a certain cutoff period through which in which they have to qualify. If that is the case, then they may not have to play the qualifiers.
They haven't entirely announced how many teams is going to be playing the next edition. Pura details aaya nahi hai na ab tak?
I think it's more. It will be 20. I think it'll still be 20. So if that's the case, then I think 10 or 11 will be through your rankings, and the rest, like for example, even Ireland were full members. Yet they played the qualifier. So I understand that logic. But I think they were below 12 or below 13 during that cutoff period. So I think that's why they played.
Chalo, let us see, of course, what happens there. And coming to Scotland now, Oman ka kafi humne baat kiya. Scotland, in terms of their bowling, we know they've got a very well-rounded bowling attack. Not a lot of chinks in their armor. Chris Soule, a name we've spoken about time and time again. Again, most expensive bowler of the day yesterday as well. We've spoken about how ye format usko crack karna abhi baki hai. He has that X factor. He's got that pace going for him. But again, Pramod, you will, of course, be backing him, right? It's not like he's going to be dropped or anything. But what do you make of the fact that Chris Soule has been targeted time and time again?
Yeah, I think the extra pace in him definitely helps. The way I think the other day we saw Warner really smack Wood around. So I think the pace that Soule has on any pitch, I think the batsman would love to sort of have a go at him. So that's something that he needs to work on. Bowl probably a little more change-ups and drag the length back a little bit. So that's something that he needs to work on, and yeah, T20 is definitely not his strong suit because 50 overs you have those extra 5-6 overs that you can bowl and you can still make a comeback, but there is very little room for error in T20s, and I think he found it out the hard way yesterday. But majority of his spell was quite decent. I think the first over he went for like three four boundaries, I think, and he picked up a wicket as well in that over, 12 or 13 runs and a wicket. But he came back well in the latter stages. But yeah, if he could figure out a way to sort of keep the runs down and bowl, evolve his bowling a little bit more in terms of his change ups and slower balls, maybe we could see him flourish in the years to come.
And
That way,
sorry,
just
just
one
to
thing, Jeet,
yeah.
question, just same question, adding one more thing, Pramod rightly mentioned, this game as well, we saw him cop a few blows, concede a few boundaries in the power play, only to come back in the middle overs and later. Even against Namibia, we saw it was Nico Darwin, if I'm not wrong, who scored 3 or 4 boundaries in the first over before being dismissed in the same over. Clearly, there seems to be a slight pattern emerging. Do you think they can probably sort of not front load him and use him for the middle overs and the back end and just stick to that because they've got enough power play bowlers any which ways?
Yeah, true. They can probably look at that. And we often talk about these express pacers being enforcers and that too in the middle overs. So that is something that Scotland can look at. In terms of the new ball bowling options, they've got several. Whether you talk about Safian Sharif, Brad Beal or Brad Curry, everybody can bowl the power plays. Brad Beal can also manage how you utilize Chris Soul. And then coming to Chris Soul, he's averaging around 36 in the T20 format and has an economy of 10. So he hasn't had a good start in this format altogether. But the thing is, he's also been quite unfortunate with the injuries and being in and out of the squad. What I would really want is for him to get a consistent run, a long stretch and a consistent run of being involved in this format non-stop. And maybe that is where you could probably start seeing him come good. Because this guy, I believe, also plays cricket in Australia in the off-season. Goes and plays the league cricket and all that stuff. So he's probably getting more used to this format and other formats and bowling regularly or bowling a lot more. So that way, I still do have faith in his ability. The numbers don't probably back me up right now, but I wouldn't really mind it. And at the end of the day, you also want that option of somebody who stands out from the rest of the pace attack, which is, of course, extra space. And like I mentioned, Scotland have only got 2 of them in Chris Soul and Gavin Bain right now. And Chris Soul, of course, is the quicker of the two. So you'd probably look, don't go the Pakistan way where all the 4 pacers do the same thing in terms of the pace. You need somebody to complement that pace attack with variety. Scotland have these 130 to 135 bowlers who can spin the ball, seeing the ball. So you need someone like Chris Soul to complement that pace attack. So even if the numbers are back, you continue to back him irrespectively and hope that he comes good eventually after a long run is given to him.
All right, let's see what happens there, of course. Now it is time to talk about the top performer of the day, and I'm pretty sure all of us are in agreement in terms of who the top performer yesterday was. Of course, we are talking about Brandon McMullen. A fantastic knock from him, an unbeaten 61 of 31 balls, 9 fours and 2 sixes, and a strike rate of 196. That's as good as it gets, especially given how Scotland knew that they have to sort of, ensure the margin is decent enough to give themselves an NRR boost. Jeet, let's start with you with the knock. Sure, there was an opportunity or two given to him, but even then, being able to make the most of it is all that counts at the end of the day.
McMullen was due a big score. It's been a while since he's actually chipped in with the bat. The last I remember was back in 2023 in the qualifiers, the 50 overs World Cup qualifiers against, I believe, the Dutch, where he had scored a century. So in the white ball formats, of course, it was a long time since he had chipped in. And given the fact that his role has been contained to just being a batter right now because he hasn't been bowling, barring the 2 warm-up games that he played. So considering that, there was a lot more pressure for him to deliver with the bat at number 3, which is a crucial spot. So it took a long time coming. But what I really liked is how smart he was in terms of going about things against pace and spin. Against pace, he was not trying to do anything out of the box. He was just staying still and hitting them from the crease. He just moved around in the crease. He didn't move out of the crease. So he was just being very, very smart in terms of manipulating the field that was set. So as soon as the offside field was up in the circle, he was moving outside leg stump and just accessing the offside by lofting it over the infield. So he was fantastic with that. But against spin, he was very, very stable. He just stayed still and started accessing different points, different areas of the ground. So he was very smart about how he accessed the pacers and the spinners and used the field to perfection. In terms of the shot making, it's not really a surprise. He likes to go down the ground against spinners, and that's exactly what he did. So how he used the wind factor as well was fantastic. So a long time coming, and good to see him chip in right at the time when it was required for Scotland.
Yep, a lot of those shots in the long on region there. Pramod bhai, again, it comes as no surprise that he's come up with a knock like this, but long time due, like Jeet mentioned, and happy with the way he sort of performed because, they could potentially be making it to the Super 8. So all of their players being in form, entering the Super 8s is sort of very crucial for them as well.
Yeah, timely knock indeed. I know it was a long time due. Yesterday we spoke about how his form, and I'm particularly looking forward to him getting some runs under his belt. He did that. Yes, there were I think there were three chances dropped as far as I remember. I don't know if there were more. In the 36, 35 odd ball innings, you get a chance thrice, but he made it count, of course. So that was good to see. And of course, he's not bowling here, but then as we spoke about the power play earlier, he's one of the options that Scotland can turn to with the ball as well in the first 6 overs. I think he doesn't bowl. I don't think he bowls much of in swinger. I think much like Vivian Kingma, he just keeps going away, so sort of becomes a little predictable, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, he is a handy option if Scotland decide to give him ball. So that is good. But yeah, his batting form was something that Scotland would have been keen on, sort of turning up for this game, and yeah, it did, and it bodes well for them going ahead.
I mean, Michael Jones, George Munsey, and Brandon McMullen now, all three of them have now gotten, some runs under their belt in the World Cup. So that's definitely going to keep them in good stead. Also, a slight digression, McMullen bowls early to mid 130s, right? He can clock those speeds regularly.
I don't think he bowls in 130s. 115, 120 is all I think he can clock. I don't know. Does he bowl 130, 135? Jeet, I'm not too sure.
No, he has the tops of 130, but
Okay.
like Pramod said, it's primarily the balls that move away from the right-handers, but he does have the ability to bring the ball back into right-handers as well. But that is the time. So one way to pick it up is whenever the keeper is standing up to the stumps. Whenever the keeper stands up to the stumps, he starts bowling those seam-in deliveries. But probably tops of 130 in terms of pace.
All right, interesting. Shankar, meanwhile, going on to say Brandon McMullen sounds like a Cricket 07 name of Brendan McCullum. Played like him too. That's a good shout, actually. Yeah, not too bad there. Definitely his namesake, a very sort of Scottish take on Brendan McCullum. You can probably put it that way, of course. And yeah, that's the end of the first game, and that's the end of the only game we had to review. Of course, we still have 2-3 segments more. We are also going to talk about the other game that's going to happen tonight, and we will be previewing that as well. So it's time out to now move on to the second segment, which is all about social media and what's called What's Trending. Social media was clearly a buzz with the other fixture. No one bothered, talking about the more important fixture clearly. But still, there were a couple of them following the game, tracking the game. So this is what social media was talking about when it came to yesterday's game. Dinda Academy. I don't know if this is one of our users because I think we did have a very sort of common user of ours, viewer of ours. So Dinda Academy has gone on to tweet, people watching Oman versus Scotland now are true cricket lovers. I'm pretty sure this was, before Pakistan sort of, decided to do what Pakistan usually does. Next, of course, was Behram Qazi, who goes on to say, elsewhere, Scotland have taken an insane NRR boost by chasing 151 versus Oman in just 13.1 overs. England are being made to sweat big time. For sure. I mean, imagine if Scotland are able to, put the defending champions out of the tournament, put out of their misery. That will be a story to be told for sure. So fingers crossed. And of course, the most strangest tweet, so to say, was from Ashwin himself, who was following the Oman Scotland game. Again, makes me wonder the timing of it. Clearly, all of this was happening during the first innings and before the second innings implosion of Pakistan. But again, not complaining. Because when celebs or popular names like these follow the game and tweet about it, that's when more eyeballs are thrown towards the game as well. So fingers crossed. A lot of people caught glimpses of what Brandon McMullen did with the bat, what Mark Watt did with the ball, what Pratik Katavle himself did with the bat. So these are the kind of names you want to keep hearing a lot more of. So good on him also for, watching the game, covering the game. USA and Scotland in Group 2 in Super 8. Preceding is a joke, says Prayash Fayal. अभी क्या करे भाई, मतलब जो है सो है. And if anything, I like the fact that they are in the same group, because that means at least one of them will end up winning, which means potentially at least one of them can make it through this through to the semi. So Prayash, all's not lost. Look at the silver linings there. So yeah. And if Netherlands make it through, Netherlands will be making it instead of Sri Lanka. So Netherlands will be with India and Australia. So it'll be India, Australia, Netherlands, and if Afghanistan make it through instead of New Zealand, it'll be Afghanistan, Netherlands, India, Australia in that group. Ooh, interesting. That'll also be a very interesting group. Anyways, yeah, of course, that's all there was from social media, of course. Time for us to now involve all of you guys in the comments. Let's see who gets it right this time. Of course, I'm talking about Who Am I? The giveaway contest that we do every day. Let's have this thing out first, right now. Yep, of course, that time of the day where we give you 3 hints, we ask you to guess the player, and Pramod's already actively sort of, kept his fingers on the keyboard. Ke boss, main abhi fastest finger first private chat mein karega. Seems like it. But first of all, let's have yesterday's contest out. Let's see what were the hints yesterday. Yeah, the hints were as follows. I share my name with several popular people, including an American musician. In 2015, I hit a six that blinded a police officer in one eye. And thirdly, of course, I top scored for my side on T20I debut. So these were the 3 hints given to you, and you had to guess the player. The answer, of course, is Mr. David Miller, the guy who, of course, won the game for South Africa just the other day. So that's the correct answer. Quite a few of you got it right, so congratulations on that. And, of course, only one lucky winner stands to win the voucher. And the lucky winner this time around is Mr. Nihal Das. So congratulations on getting yourself a cool 500 rupee Amazon voucher. Just DM us on Twitter and our social media team will do the needful over there. So that's that from yesterday's contest. Now let's have today's hints out. There you go. I came into the limelight during last year's ODI World Cup qualifiers. My brothers also played internationally for my country. Despite making my debut over 7 years ago, I've played only 2 T20Is outside Europe. So these are the 3 hints. I came into the limelight during last year's ODI World Cup qualifiers. My brothers also played internationally for my country. Despite making my debut over 7 years ago, I've played only 2 T20Is outside Europe. So these are the 3 hints. Let us see who gets it right. And once again, guys, do not key in your answers or enter your answers in the live chat. Wait for the live stream to end and enter your answers only in the main comment section at the end of the live stream to be eligible to win yourself a voucher. So please wait for that, of course. And yahan pe, of course, yeah, people in the private chat definitely happy with the fact that they were able to get it to you. Get the answer right there. So let us see now who gets it right this time around. Who will be the lucky winner this time? And that's that from, of course, today's Who Am I? Now it is time for us to quickly move on to the last segment of the day, which, of course, is Let's Look Ahead. Yep, it is time for us to look ahead, and look ahead it is. It is, of course, South Africa taking on Bangladesh, and that game is happening in New York. That game's happening live tonight, 8 p.m. Guys, let's start with that, of course. Ki kya chal raha hai, boss? South Africa, we've seen what they've done in New York in the first 2 games they've played there. This is the first time Bangladesh will be playing in New York, and the surface definitely won't be conducive to their kind of, play. So, Jeet, let's start with you. Kya lag raha hai?
At least South Africa know how it's going to behave. They know what lens to hit. Whereas Bangladesh will be coming for the first time thinking, oh man, the pitch looks good, but as soon as they start batting, they'll realize that, you know what, it's not good. It's not easy facing the South African pacers altogether. So that's where the challenge lies. The only saving grace for Bangladesh could be the pace attack, where, first of all, it's very, very good to see Taskin Ahmed back, one of my favorites. So he can actually do some damage early on. And Fizz, of course, hopefully, I don't really expect the ball to grip. So his cutters may or may not really be that effective. But anyway, they've got the third pacer in Tanzim Hassan Saqib, who also is a very, very impressive pacer. Somebody that I was very impressed with, of course, before this tournament started as well. A very cool and calm guy. Has got a great back of the hand delivery as well. And he's very consistent as well in terms of hitting the lens. So Bangladesh will have to really hope that the pacers can, find the right lens and do the damage. But otherwise, the batters, it won't be so easy for them facing the South African pacers who know what lens are working over here. And with that high pace altogether, man, it's going to be tough.
Yep, and Saqib, of course, came into the limelight when he played India when he played against India in that Asia Cup. Everyone remembers that ball to Tilak Verma, especially the leave, top of off, and all of that. But Pramod Bhai, again, Bangladesh clearly in terms of paces, sure, they do have names up their ranks, but they don't have that X factor. South Africa's bowling attack is just filled with X factors left, right, and center. Be it Andik Nokia, be it Otniel Bartman, be it Rabada, be it even Shamsi or Maharaj. Anyone you take on there, they can definitely turn the game on its head by themselves. Who would Bangladesh count on to be able to come up with a performance like that? Potentially someone like a Taskin Ahmed?
Yeah, definitely. I think Tuscan. I think Bangladesh missed Tuscan during the USA tour this time. I think he was recovering from an injury, so we couldn't really get a sight of how he does in these sort of conditions. Again, New York is, as you've seen in all these games, it's a different. It tests your skills in a very different way. I think Bangladesh do have fast bowlers, but I think their strength has always been spinners. So I think they found someone like a Rishad Hussain, for instance, in the last game who could do a bit of damage. So along with the fast bowlers, if someone like him and Shakeel and potentially even Mahmudullah, they have a good day with the ball, they can probably restrict South Africa to a reasonable total, but it won't be easy. The thing with Bangladesh, as we discussed yesterday, is their batsmen who are not clicking. Their top 3, top 4. If at least one of them sort of bat till the 10, 12, or maybe 13th over, it'll be a different ball game. But I think right now, I think their bowling is sort of outdoing their batting at the moment, which are worrying signs in a way. But yeah, I think they will be thoroughly tested against this South African unit, both with the bat and ball. It'll be interesting to see what sort of tactics and players they come up with tomorrow. Or today, is it?
Tonight, 8 p.m. of course. And again, in terms of the names Pramod mentioned, Jeet, same question to you. What are some of the bowlers that Bangladesh will be banking on the surface? There's Fizz, there's Saqib, there's Taskin. Who else? Like, do you think they can on their day sort of test the Protea batters?
Looking at how the pitches behave, it's like I mentioned, the very first thing that comes to my mind is of course Taskin Ahmed, because he hits those lengths which could really be very, very effective over here. And if the South African batters troubled by the likes of Logan van Beek and Paul van Meekeren, because they are very, very similar in terms of lengths they hit, just like Tuscan. So if they also did all that kind of damage and if they had such an impact, then I'm hoping that Tuscan also could replicate that particular impact. Again, I really hope that Bangladesh are bowling first over here to make some match out of it. But a lot, like I said, it's going to ride upon Tuscan because I don't see a lot of grip from the pitch. So that itself straight away makes Mustafa a bit iffy in terms of how big an impact he could have. So Tuscan probably would be my clear to watch out for as far as the Bangladeshi bowling attack is concerned, because spin again, I'm not too sure how it's really going to go over here.
Also, one thing we observed, especially after yesterday's game, was you probably should not be looking at keep batting first, bowling first. The surface pretty much remains the same throughout. It's all about applying yourself, something Pakistan did not do yesterday. But again, Bangladesh, even if they are batting first, I don't think sides should be too flustered about it, because earlier it did seem like it was sirf pehle ek aadhe ghante mein, it's very tricky. Uske baad it becomes a bit more easier. But clearly that's not the case. Morning games in New York have been very tough for batters through and through. So simply, even if you lose the toss, even if you are going to be batting first, just look at a pass score of about 110, 115, and that seems to have been good enough so far. I mean, they've tested the chasing sides. Despite the targets have been chased, they've been chased with great difficulty. Jeet, so starting with you, don't you think, what do you think is the pass score on the surface?
No, they should probably look at that 120, 125. But having said that, the pitch does get better in the second innings, because that's what Jasprit Bumrah also mentioned yesterday, that whatever was happening in the first innings. In the second innings, it was a lot more easier to bat. The swing also was a little lesser as compared to the first innings. So what he had to rely was landing the ball on the seam to be really, really effective. So it does get better in the second innings. It's just like I mentioned a few days ago that in the second innings, it's tough for the first 8 to 10 overs, after which it's a lot more easier to bat. So whenever the team's batsmen don't look to go gung-ho and aim for like 160, 170, don't aim for the stars there. It's not going to happen. You get to 120, 125 and you are still in the game. You can still defend that if you bowl really well in the second innings. It's just figuring out what lengths are to be bowled and what's really working over here. Don't go searching for swing. There is no swing whatsoever. So if you're going to pitch the ball up, it's not really going to work out. Just like what Ashdeep did yesterday, or Mohammad Amir, or Shaheen Afridi as well, for that matter. They were bowling a lot more fuller, and it was not really working out. I know India threw it away with those flick shots and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, don't go searching for swing because there is none. So you need to understand that good lengths and back of lengths are the way to go over here because it brings the variable bounce into factor, and the sluggish nature of the pitch also makes them a lot more effective. So if that is something you do a bit of research on coming into this game, then you probably understand why it's really working out and you'll stick to that. So I'm not saying if you're bowling 6 balls in the over, then all 6 balls should be on a good length or back of length. It's fine if a couple of them are pitched up. That's not a big deal. But at least 4 of the 6 balls should be in those areas to make it really, really effective and put the batters into trouble.
All right, interesting. Pramod, same question to you in terms of the pass over here. What do you think? Should the team batting first aim for over here? What do you think is part 120, 125 like Jeet said, or do you have different thoughts?
I think, like Rohit said yesterday, I think 140 was like absolutely match winning. And India, I felt were on course when they were 84-2 or 84-3 in the first inning, just to that score. I think basically the key is to avoid sort of those batting collapses that both teams had yesterday, regardless of whether you're batting first or batting second. We saw from 84-2, 84-3, they just managed 120 in the last 10 overs. And same with Pakistan as well. They just needed to run a ball in the last 10. And when even Rizwan got out, they needed, again, little over run a ball probably. So I think those are important. Even if it's the death overs, there's no need to sort of really go after the bowling. You just take singles, take twos whenever they're available. You get 40 runs of the last 30 or 35 runs of the last 5 overs. You should be in a good position to get a match winning or above par score. So I don't think it'll be any different. South Africa have the advantage of playing here, I think, twice so far. So they know what is to be done and how to sort of go on and get the runs on the board. I think Bangladesh will find it a tad difficult to sort of acclimatize right away and things like that. And also, it's important to see what sort of weather is there today. Yesterday, we saw when India were batting, it was overcast and it was favoring the Pakistan Pacers, which is why I think they were able to pick up some quick wickets once the game resumed after a small break. And when they were batting, the sun was beating down, so it was a good surface for them to bat. Yet, I think credit to the Indian bowlers for restricting them to like 115 yesterday. So that also could play a minor role in the game later today.
Fair enough. Meanwhile, Prayash saying South Africa will secure 6 points and their qualification tonight and rest their important players against Nepal. Prayash, basically, this message is the answer to tell me you're a Nepal fan without telling me you're a Nepal fan. Bas, aur kuch nahi kahunga isme. I know it's only academic, but South Africa will still not guarantee qualification after today. Netherlands and Nepal can win all their remaining games. We'll know only after Wednesday's Nepal-Sri Lanka match. The Sri Lanka win will put the cue for South Africa. Fair point there, Shankar, because, mathematically, of course, you cannot count them out so soon. And fingers crossed, even otherwise, if they are able to make their way into the Super 8, it's nothing like it, as improbable as it might seem as of now. But final thoughts on the surface itself. Pramod bhai, let's start with you. We remember Afghanistan last year while chasing against Pakistan in the Chennai game, the World Cup game, how you saw those targets. If you remember the board, the image of that whiteboard with all those targets after 10 overs, after 20 overs, after 30 overs, all of that doing the rounds of social media. If you had to do something like that for a team over here in New York, given how the surface is played and batters have just sort of given away their wickets trying to slog or hoik or something like that. First innings, agar aap target set kar rahe ho ki boss, and let's assume it's the same surface as yesterday. Okay, 4 over targets. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. How do you think should they benchmark? How do you think should they set those targets?
I think New York. I think anybody scoring a runner ball is a bonus. I think you get to 120, which is competitive. Maybe if you're lucky and you have wickets in hand in the last 3-4, maybe try to push it to 130, 135. But I think it's pretty straightforward in terms of setting targets. I think a runner ball is more than enough to sort of make a match of it, and potentially, like we've seen in the last few games here in New York, potentially match winning as well. So I think it's as simple as that.
Interesting. Jeet, what about you? Because also another thing to consider is the new ball is going to wreak havoc, whether you like it or not. Even if you're not looking to attack, you will use your wicket. Not you might, you will. The surface has been that way. So given that probably they can start a bit more tentatively, they can give themselves that much more time and potentially attack one of those spinners, whoever comes in.
But to be fair, it's not the new ball is swinging and doing the damage. It's only when they're dragging the lens back when it's actually, working really well. So if the ball is being pitched up, that's probably your best time to score. If you remember that flick shot from Rohit Sharma where he got a six, the ball
Yeah.
barely moved. It was pitched up. There was no swing. He just flicked it and he timed the pants out of it. That's how he got out because, of course, the angle of the bat was actually over there. So it was a different thing altogether. But the ball's not moving at all. So what's really important over here is to capitalize on the power play. Now, you need to be really, really smart with that. You've got two batters out there. One of them needs to play the anchor role. And Bangladesh have got plenty of them can play the anchor role. So it's really important for one of them to capitalize on the power play and be a lot more aggressive and put the pressure back on the bowlers. Now, what has really worked over here is if that a batter gets his iron and if he's hanging in for like 20, 25 balls, it gets a lot more simpler for that batter because he understands how the pitch is behaving. So he plays the shots accordingly. So whilst one of them plays the anchor role and takes it really deep, the other batter needs to consistently come in and play those quick cameos and ensure that the run rate is around, say, 6.5 to 6.75 or even tops of 7 consistently. Maximize the power play. That's very, very important. After that, it's going to be a lot more difficult because, of course, the field is a lot more spread out. The bowlers figure out that hard lengths and all those lengths are really working out. So it's hard to hit them off those lengths with the square boundaries being really, really long. So you've got to be smart in terms of how one batter goes about it and how the other batter goes about it consistently throughout the 20 overs.
All right, let's see what happens there. One final question, of course, before we wrap this episode of What's Up World Cup up. Once again, that cup up sort of gets to me every time. But one key player from both sides. Let's start with you, Pramod bhai, this time. Bangladesh, South Africa, one key player each. Who you think could make or break the game for them tonight?
Yeah, I know Jeet is going to say Tuscan, so I'm not going to say Tuscan this time. I'll go with Tawad Hridoy. I think he's,
मेरे को लगा ही था मैं इसीलिए सोचा भी I should hijack and I should probably just go first, take the most
it's okay.
obvious name.
You take Mustafizur today. It's fine.
नहीं है मेरे पास एक
Yeah.
और बैकअप नाम है मेरे. But for South
Hridoy-
Africa,
Akshay, he's going for Shant. And for South Africa, I want to. For South Africa, probably Klaassen. He's not really. I mean, he's not had the opportunity to really go big and score some big runs today. But hopefully, today is the day. So yeah, Klaassen and Hridoy will be my two picks.
fair shout. Jeet, what about you?
Pramod already answered for me with Bangladesh, so I already explained why Tuscan Ahmed. So that's a very straightforward decision for me. When it comes to South Africa, I'm tilting more towards Reza Hendricks because he can play that kind of a role of anchoring along and he's good at negotiating pretty much all the lengths, so it should not be a big issue. Quinton de Kock, anyway, is somebody that I'm not really on trust with the kind of form, not even the form, just this mentality these days. It's probably not even going to work out. But yeah, maybe there is an outside chance de Kock might actually come good this time around. But I'll rather back somebody like Reza on a pitch like this. He can just trudge along in a strike rate of 110, 120 and get the job done.
Fair enough. I'm going with Liton Das for Bangladesh. He's one of their better players of pace, at least that's how I look at him. And I know he's not been in the greatest of form this year. He averages 16 and he's been striking at 96 in all T20Is that Bangladesh have played in 2024. Those are as woeful as they can get. But even then, last game, he did show some semblance of form, especially against pace. It was Hasranga who tied him down completely. This time around, at least, there won't be that issue for him. So I'm hoping that, especially against the new ball in the power play, he will be able to come good for them. So that's that from Bangladesh. And for South Africa, yeah, most of the names are taken. I'll go with Makram. Not been in the greatest of form, but skipper hai, will come good eventually. Want to believe. And बस और and ज़्यादा नाम्स है नहीं यार, नहीं तो obvious names Batman, Nokia वो सब है. I don't want to go for something obvious. Just sort of to spice things up, I'll go for Makram. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the end of the review there. Prayash meanwhile saying, if Bangladesh are to play an out of form opener at number 3 and sacrifice Zakir Ali, then they are surely digging their own grave. They have been digging it for a while, bro. अभी बस कॉफिन को रखना है नीचे. ग्रेव तो डिग हो चुका है, अभी बस बचा वही है. They've been doing this for a while, so you can't deny that. I'll just take Sachin's comment because I'll definitely take this up with Avnish as well. Off topic, Akshay, when asked about you in yesterday's watch along, I heard you're on a dating spree. Why is my dating life a subject to be discussed during an India-Pakistan game? Like, काम धंधा नहीं है किसी को भी. Avnish,
I mean, they didn't have any choice. No, India-Pakistan game was like that. So I mean, they had to explore other topics. Yeah.
Batao bhai. Anyways, time for us to now quickly wrap this up. Tomorrow we will be back same time. Don't forget, of course. And like we mentioned before, wait for the live chat to end. 2 key in your answers at the end of the live stream in order to be eligible to win yourselves a cool 500 rupee Amazon voucher from us. It's a goodbye from all of us right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the coverage just as much as we did. And let's hope Bangladesh are able to come over South Africa tonight.